What would be your most memorable events in your life since graduation?
Moving to Waco, having children, starting a business.
Tell me about some of those.
Well, my husband and I married, then we moved to Waco to start a business. We bought that business, and we've been in business in Waco ever since
What
then.
kind of business is it?
We've had a convenience store, gas and installation business, plumbing business, insurance, and investment real estate.
Oh, wow.
So we've stayed very busy all that time, and it's been good. We've met a lot of people that we wouldn't have met any other way.
And how about your kids?
We're very, very grateful. We have a girl and a boy, and both of us still live nearby. Not so wonderful with our grandchildren as far as being near us. The oldest one is still in Waco. One's in Nashville in the music business, and the other one is in the fashion business in New York City. And I'd like to think that the grocery store was the convenience store. I learned a lot. That I say I got my PhD in peopleology right there.
And what foundation did you get from Corsicana High School that really fit into your life over the next 60 years?
Honor, integrity, loyalty, and decency, and treating everybody fairly. Those are things that I learned, and they just help so much. They make all the difference.
When I said I would never teach, I was thinking about public school teaching. But as it happened, I had an opportunity to teach in the two-year college. And a remarkable thing about that, I suppose, is that I never had to apply. That I literally got a call about 6:45 one evening, and the president of the college said, "Do you want a job?" I didn't even have my master's degree at that time. But the baby boomers were just about to hit. This was 1965, and they were desperate to find teachers. So I was lucky enough in my first job to have it just offered to me without ever going out and seeking it. I've told you this before. I've told a lot of people before that when you get to this point in your life and you're looking back on a lot of the past, you realize what a role luck plays in your life. And while none of my life has produced the kind of stories that you may have heard from others during the day, it was still a very important part of my very ordinary life. I was lucky. And I realized that, and I have been very appreciative of that in my old age. I got into a speech class and discovered that I could get up in front of a class, in front of an audience, and give a speech. And that led to a state championship or original oratory in 1959, and that was important. So it was that speech class, I guess, was the point at which I discovered expression, and that I could express myself, and I was interested in doing that, and found gratification in doing that.
And so you wound up teaching speech.
Yes. No, I didn't start out that way. I was an English teacher. I taught English from 1965 to 2000. And then started teaching speech at Navarra part-time. I was part-timer at Navarra when I started teaching speech there.
And what teacher at Corsicana High School do you think had the most influence on you now that you look back, for any reasons? You know, the one teacher that you would really say, this person had an impact on my life.
I don't, for someone who is a teacher, it's hard for me to answer that question. You would expect that I'd have an easy answer to that. I suppose Eli Douglas in that speech class, through his encouragement. I do remember the fellow who taught biology He was a coach, and he taught biology my first year in high school. But he was an academic All-American at SMU. He didn't influence me or change me, but he certainly got my attention. And I knew that I was in the presence of something different, that was different from junior high. Oh, the Kybers.
Yeah. Which you had one, didn't you?
I had the one that everybody talks about the most. I had her my freshman year. It wasn't freshman, it was sophomore year in the way our high school was organized. That was Annabelle Kyber. She was a well-respected, well-known teacher, extremely effective. Everybody tells stories about her. I was just not mature enough to be affected by her. Had I been a little bit more mature, I would probably have a different recollection of her.
Can you tell me some of your most memorable events since high school?
Since high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
You weren't expecting me to ask
No, I
that.
wasn't expecting you to ask me that. Just raising my children.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 daughters.
Tell me about them.
Okay, I have 3 daughters. One lives in Mount Vernon, Texas. She had 3 children of her own and has adopted then 4 children from China.
Oh, wow.
And those are neat young men and one young lady. They're just absolutely precious, and you don't have to have a bloodline to love anybody, because I love them like I do my very own. Then I have one daughter that was a funeral director, mortician. She lives in Oklahoma City and almost died at 42 with long QT syndrome. Her heart quit. Fortunately, she was with a friend that knew CPR. She has a son and a daughter and one little granddaughter. My oldest daughter has 6 grandchildren. And then my youngest daughter lives next door to me, and she has 4 kids. 2 are stepchildren, but they're all ours, and then 2 that are our very own bloodline. And I went back to school at my late 30s, got a degree in education, business and English, and taught for 31 years. And I substitute teach 3 to 4 days a week, just about.
Still. Good for you.
Yes.
Where did you teach?
I started out in Blooming Grove at the high school. Taught there 2 years, went to Corsicana, taught Corsicana High School for 17 years, and then went back to Blooming Grove. Most of the time I taught English. In the last 10 or so years I taught computer science and business subjects and word processing and that sort of thing.
How did your Corsicana High School experience lay a foundation for you for the next 60 years?
The actual time I was a student,
Yeah.
it taught me that we were all different, but even with those differences, there were positives. And everybody in the world doesn't need to be just exactly alike in order for life to be good. Mm-hmm. You can disagree without being disagreed. That's what
do you have any other thing you'd like to mention?
My teaching career has been that, and raising my family has been the most rewarding thing that I could have ever done. I would say, I don't know that Hub Hill influenced me to become a teacher, but he influenced me in the kind of teacher I wanted to be.
Okay.
He was a man who made every single student that he ever had feel like they were his favorites. And that was one of my goals as a teacher. And also to hopefully radiate to my students that I had a strong faith in Jesus and in God, and that I didn't have to say it, but that it would show through my actions. And it would have been okay for me to say it as long as it was legal.
Okay. Positive memory is that I've still got the same wife. We've been married for 57 years.
Oh.
And she's been a good wife. I got 3 kids. I got 8 grandkids and 6 great-grandkids. And they're the joy of my life. My wife and all my kids and grandkids. I lost my oldest son the 4th of January last year. And I miss him bad because we was real buddies. We hunted together and tended the cattle together and everything like that. But I've had a good life, and then except for the accidents I've had, and I'm a Christian. I love Jesus Christ. I actually got saved when I was 12 years old. Of course, I ain't always been good, but God's good, and He's been good to me and kept me all these years through all the accidents I've had. And that's the most positive part of my life is knowing Jesus Christ. When you're in high school, kids don't realize it, but them are some of the best years of their life. And of course, I enjoyed mine. And kids nowadays, they don't realize, that their high school years are some of the best years. I've lived a long time, considering all the damages I've had to my body, but God's kept me through all of that, and I'm still getting around good and don't have any problems. So I guess I'm okay.
Well, I was a medic in the Air Force, and spent some years as an instructor in the Air Force. And I enjoyed that part of it very much. I wasn't really happy doing basic training, but after I got through the basic training and became a medic, for a year I worked as a hospital medic and became an instructor. I enjoyed being an instructor. I trained other medics, and after that, spent the rest of my time in the Air Force as a medical instructor. I left the Air Force and became...
How many years were you in the Air Force altogether?
4 years active,
Okay.
2 years inactive. I went to school after the Air Force down in Houston, trying to become a medical technologist, laboratory diagnostics. Kept that registry for 15 years, and then I decided I wanted to go into the sales field. And did that for quite a few years. And started my own business, service business. I did that for about 15 years, and then kind of pillared the post. Ended up in law enforcement. Retired from law enforcement, and I am now retired and live here in Corsicana. Well, my wife and I live here. I have 2 boys. One's in Houston and one's in Plano, Texas. And because of the distance, we don't see them real regular. I'm on full disability, and my wife is retired she did 44 years in banking. And that's pretty much about it. We just kind of hang around and do what we want to. We travel a lot. So we just kind of enjoy what we do and just take it easy.
Okay. And how do you think, what kind of a foundation did your time at Corsicana High School give to you for your career?
At Corsicana High School, I had no clue what I was going to do when I got out. I started at Navarra College. I had wanted to go to another college, but decided not to do that. I wasn't real sure I even wanted to go to college. I went a semester at Navarra and decided college just wasn't for me, and I decided I'll just go into the Air Force. I knew if I didn't go to college, I was going to get drafted. So I decided to join the Air Force, and that's what made that decision for me. And the medical training I received in the Air Force put me on the medical line. So that's why I went that direction.
Who is not here at this reunion that you really miss?
Well, I just asked someone a while ago, one of my friends, Mike Everhart. I haven't seen him yet. I expect to see him later on this morning. I'm sure he'll show up for the luncheon. I expected to see him here this morning. Another friend that I have missed for several reunions, that's Stuart Beebe. I'm sorry I haven't seen him. He hasn't attended very many of our reunions. I'm sorry he doesn't take the time to do that, but I do miss him a lot. I wish he would attend more, but it doesn't look like he's going to.
My most memorable moment since high school would be the day 43 years ago, I met my husband, Charlie. Those are my most memorable moments. I opened the first home health nursing service here in Corsicana in 1976. And I was in my office one day. I'd been out seeing patients, and I was sitting there, and this cute little salesman came bopping in my office to sell me a copy machine. And I told him real quick, I don't like copy machines. I like this paper that I use, and it's great, and I don't want a copy machine. And he went through the whole sales pitch, and I said, not mine. I don't want a copy machine. Well, your head office in Houston sent me. I said, well, tell the head office if they want me to stay here, you ain't selling me a copy machine. So he got ready to leave, and he turned around and looked at me and said, would you like to go to lunch? And here's the deal. I go swim at the Y on my lunch hour. And so I wasn't going to see patients anymore. So I had my hair tied up in a red bandana, no makeup, one of those jumpsuits that fits real tight, and no bra. I was cute. Oh, God, I was. And so he looked at me and said, do you want to go to lunch? And I said, nope. Why not? You eating? No. Why don't you want to go to lunch with me? I don't date salesmen. My ex-husband was a salesman, and I don't date salesmen. And he looked at me and he said, you're going to go to lunch with me one day. So every Wednesday when he was in town, he'd come and ask me to go to lunch. Finally, I gave up and went to lunch. The rest was history. So I moved back to Corsicana, and one of the doctors was a friend of my parents, and he said, they're looking for someone to open a home health nursing service. And I said, a what? And they said, a home health. I said, okay, I'll go talk to them. Hours were good, pay was good. And so I opened it, and I worked it a little over 3.5 years. And started the first one in this whole general area, really. And it was exciting. It was hard work. Sometimes I'd work 12, 13 hours a day seeing patients. But it's the most rewarding nursing job I ever had when I went to SMU, because the classes that I'd excelled in were all science. And so the science here, teachers here, I guess, I didn't know it at the time, but I guess they put a little bug in my bonnet, so to speak, and I gravitated toward that type of studying. And wasn't too good in English, like Dick, but yeah, I did that. And then after I married my husband, he worked for Xerox. I got divorced in the meantime, and then after 3 years of being single, I met Charlie, and he worked for Xerox, and he taught me into going to work for Xerox. And I was a salesman for Xerox for 11 years. And what I did is I took my skills as a nurse and applied them to my customers that I was trying to sell.
How so?
I listened to what they wanted, and I asked them questions about what their needs were, and I didn't try to just walk in and start selling, and I treated them like they were someone I was doing an intake on. Tell me about yourself, tell me about your business, tell me what you want, what you don't want, that type of thing. And so I think I used those skills and was very successful working for Xerox. And then about 5 years ago, we were living in Vermont, and I had been doing chaplain. I took a 3-month course in being a chaplain at the hospital, and I was doing chaplain work at the hospital. And then we moved to Corsicana. I do volunteer work here as a chaplain at the hospital and the nursing homes.
I
I had taken the distributive education class course in high school, and that's to prepare us for our work career. And by that, it really did give me a lot of handy tools to go out into the public now and work. And so I always say that that was the start of my career, is getting that education in the Corsicana High School. I was a full charge bookkeeper for many years, and then later I went into pharmacy technician, which later I became into pharmacy benefit management. Well, my family, my 3 children, all live real close to me, and then I have 8 grandchildren between those, and they're all living real close to me in Plano, Texas. Yeah, I just felt like that high school was a real happy time in my life, and we built many friendships for which we have carried those on even from our graduation in 1959. Well, I had good teachers. I don't remember any bad experiences, and I had teachers that had to have probably implemented in some piece of my foundation to be able to go out in my work career.
And who would you say was the one special teacher that you had?
Well, it was Mr. Nelson Ross, because he was our education director for the distributive education, and he really did take this class that we took. We would get out of school about 1 o'clock, and we would all go to the jobs that we had been assigned to. And we had a head start, like that senior year, to start working with all of the tools that he had tried to implement, for us to follow.
So you did that how often a week?
Every day.
Oh,
Every
really?
day at 1 o'clock we would leave high school Monday through Friday and go to our jobs. Sometimes we might have worked on Saturday. Coming back to Corsicana, our hometown, has always been a real happy time.